Hey there, welcome to New Eyes Open Strategic. This is a channel for folks who are ready to look at their life with a new perspective. So, whether you are reconsidering just any aspect of life, reconsidering public school, reconsidering traditional work, reconsidering like your lifestyle, where you live, how you live, all the things, this is the channel for you. My name is Stephanie. If you are coming back, welcome. Welcome back. And if you are here for the first time, welcome to this channel. I hope that you get some nuggets of wisdom. My goal is to share strategies that I have learned along the way as I have redesigned my life multiple times, once by choice, and another time just I was kind of forced into it. And yeah, share strategies with you for just how to go into this intentionally. And if you find yourself having to redesign your life, just like me, because of an unexpected divorce or abandonment issue, um, or if you are intentionally redesigning your life because you're ready for something different, I have done both, and I am happy to share strategies with you on all of the above. So, today in particular, I want to talk to you about 5 alternatives to public education, government led public education. So, I don't know about you, but when I was a teacher, so a little background if you haven't watched my intro video, I'm a former public school teacher. I've taught middle school, I've taught high school, I've worked at university level. I have my master's in higher education administration, and I now unschool my children. So, today we're going to talk about shifting your perspective on education. As a public school teacher, I loved the teaching aspect, I loved the children aspect, and I even, for the most part, loved my colleagues. I did not, however, like being cooped up inside every day. I did not like having to get special permission to have class outside. I did not like seeing the joy, the natural joy of learning that my students and my own children had diminish over the years or dwindle over the years. I did not like seeing bright, beautiful, creative, young, rambunctious children be that way in one class, and then after taking their medication for being their natural selves, being lethargic, unable to string one sentence after the other, unable to think clearly in the next class. And so, in case you can't tell by where I am right now, I love nature. I have, as I've grown, actually, even as a child, I was in nature as often as I could be. And that is another reason that I believe I was led into unschooling and student-led schooling or student-led education. I digress. Anyways, 5 alternatives. So as you're rethinking life, if you're like me, when I was a public school teacher, I thought the only 2 alternatives there were to traditional public school was homeschool, and those I did not want my kids to grow up as socially awkward weirdos like those kids. More on that later. And private school. And then the stigma around private school is, those families are stuck up. Now that is showing my own limited mindset from back in the day. Don't come at me. I know there are other options. That's what I'm here to discuss with you. So one of the beautiful things that has happened over these past several years, especially since COVID, is parents and teachers alike got fed up with the public school system, and the way things were run during COVID really accelerated this. And so the number one thing I'm going to mention as an alternative to public school are what are being known as micro schools. So a lot of parents and teachers who couldn't find a solution for what they needed for their children, they created it. And so there are these little micro schools popping up all over the place. And there's everything from just like another mom who homeschooling your kids along with her kids, to these schools that happen out in a natural environment, similar to where I am right now, called nature schools. And typically, these are bigger groups of students. Well, I say typically, the ones I'm familiar with are pretty big. They have bigger groups, they have staff, but that's not the case with all of them. I do know of a woman who is running a forest school on her own. There's also farm schools. So the idea is that you send your kid to these schools and they learn in a natural environment, or they learn the basics outside on a picnic table instead of inside a classroom. They're encouraged to explore things in nature versus told to do a set curriculum. Other micro schools are very much like student-led community centers where, students are free to explore at their own rate and develop at their own rate, but they're still with other kids, so they, have the social component, and then they are supervised by adults. So those are some options. Micro school, if you're interested in learning more about micro schools, you could Google micro schools near me. You might need to use other descriptive words like nature school near me, forest school near me, farm school near me, micro school near me. Like just, any of those search words will start bringing things up. Another resource is the Liberated podcast, and that's Liberate Ed, uppercase E and then D, with Carrie McDonald. Carrie McDonald wrote a book, very wonderful qualitative and quantitative research-based book called Unschooled, a couple years ago, and she has a podcast now where she interviews different micro school founders across the country. And so listening to that podcast will give you some ideas of what exists out there, and then you can search those specific keywords for your particular area. So option number one, micro school. Another option number two, is a classic but private school. There are private schools out there that are designed differently than your traditional school environment. The Sudbury Academy model comes to mind, and that is one that Carrie McDonald on the Liberated podcast talks about a lot. Her daughter actually goes to, might be her daughter and her son, I don't know. I know at least one of her kids goes to this particular school. I also know of, in Austin, Texas, there is a Montessori style school that is geared towards middle and high school ages. She may actually have for all ages now, but Montessori schools are typically, in general, they've been for elementary age school kids, but there are programs popping up all over the place because essentially the Montessori way is a student-led way, and that is the essence of what we're trying to get at, right? Like help kids learn how to be their truest selves while they're children, so that they don't, as adults, have to redesign their life. They can just start designing it, being who they truly are from, the get-go. What a concept. So the next option, so option two, is a private school, but make sure that you're looking for a private school that's not just a replica of government school, of regular public ed, Because in all honesty, it is the conformity and the constraint that hinder the learning, the natural joy of learning, in my opinion. And so private school, different model. That leads me to the next option, which is unschooling. This is a form of homeschooling, and homeschooling is actually going to be my option number 4. So unschooling is basically student-led learning at home. And this requires, as a parent, it's pretty, in my opinion, you need to be a conscious parent, because while kids are little, as in, under the age of 8, or really until they express an interest themselves in learning different topics or more formal types of learning, they're just being kids. Let them climb trees, let them play in nature, but what that requires of you is to be present and aware of where they are, what they're doing, and, for safety's sake, and just to teach them basic life skills. So it's going to look different depending on what your family is like and what your values are. So for me, I value my children making their own decisions. However, I also realize that at 11 and 12, they need some help making those decisions. They need some help mining for the gemstones of their interests, like inside themselves. And so what I follow is a method I like to call raising up future CEOs. It's basically where I take the consulting work I do with entrepreneurs, and I use the same philosophy with my children. So we have weekly check-in meetings, we have quarterly planning, we have annual planning, and instead of our goal being, like with an entrepreneur, it would be a financial goal and a target number of, how many customers or products, how many customers they want to acquire, how many products they want to sell in a given time frame. With my girls, it's more, okay, what do we want to learn this year? What kinds of things do we want to learn? And so I'll just give you an example. Our focus this year is getting back on the road and being able to explore more. So a lot of our projects involve like road trip travel, destinations where we want to go, exploring where to stay, what our budget's going to be. Like, can you see how that incorporates all the different subjects, what the history is in that local area that we want to explore while we're visiting different places? And this is very much what we did on our gap year journey back in 2019. But I didn't incorporate my kids in the planning at that time. I incorporated them in the planning as far as like each person made a list of places they wanted to see or things they wanted to do. My kids were a lot younger, and so now that they're older, they have even, more advanced ideas of what they want to do and see and learn in each place. So it's a richer learning opportunity for them this time around, and I am incorporating them in it. And another reason that we're doing this is because anytime, and I'll get to this at the end of the video too, or we'll just go over it now. Anytime you are leaving one form of education and going to a whole new form of education, you want to have a period of deschooling. So if you're leaving public school and you're going to do one of these more student-led learning experiences, deschooling for yourself as a parent and for your children is hands down the best way to prepare for their learning adventure. Deschooling is basically like a very, very long summertime. Kids get to do whatever they want to do. And because that can get boring really quickly, which is good, that leads to them, figuring out what they're interested in. But for me, that's one of the reasons why I have chosen to do gap years or gap seasons anytime we're in a season of unschooling, deschooling. So my 11-year-old actually, both of my children after 2019 and 2020 went back to public school. I got a divorce. Things were very unstable at home. I couldn't find a job that was remote at the time, so I had to leave the home and go work. And so for a time, I put my children back in public school. I made sure that the local school system was one that I could feel okay about doing that in, and it was. It has been wonderful, actually. But the fact remains that my values are my values. I believe that my children learn best when they are allowed freedom to be who they truly are, uninhibited. And so unschooling is the way to go for us. And my 11-year-old will return home to be unschooled starting next year. So any of the unschooling adventures we do right now are with my 12-year-old, just being fully transparent. And also, I consider the learning journeys that we go on the weekends with both children are also unschooling experiences. And we turn dinner time into an unschooling experience. My partner is huge history buff, and he dives into lots of historical connections and just helping the girls see the patterns in history and connect concepts that they've just heard about and connect what's going on in the world today with things that have happened in the past. So that's a tip. If you are currently, if your kids are in public school and you're worried about them, you wanting to do this, but you're not sure how, that is a technique. That is something you can incorporate. You can help them learn the things that you want them to learn while they're at home with you. And we can talk more about that. I'll maybe do another video about that because that was huge for us the past 2.5 years. But I'm really excited. We're getting back to everybody being home together, unschooling together, living life together. And we will be going on another trip to just reset everything. And I'll talk more about why I think a gap year is the way to go for this on a different video. But yeah, highly recommend it. There's lots of ways to do it. I'll talk about different ways to do it in another video. So unschooling, that's another option. Homeschool is, my definition of homeschool is kids doing school at home. So you have several options here. You can, there's lots of there's public and private. So there's online programs, online curriculums that are like all encompassing. Your kids just log on, they do school online, and they log off. There's that. There's also different curriculums that you can purchase and you can teach your children. And don't ever let anybody tell you that you can't, including yourself, especially yourself. You can teach your children. However, in my experience, when children are allowed to do self-directed learning, it's a lot, they're a lot more motivated to actually learn. But some parents really want to still have control over what their kids learn and, make sure that they are progressing along aligned with regular school standards. And if that's the case, then homeschooling may be the way to go for you. And it doesn't have to be rigid. There's lots of different ways to do homeschool. The beauty about homeschooling is you do it the way that feels right for you. Now, obviously, wherever you live in the United States, you do need to look and see what the regulations, restrictions are for your state and follow those guidelines. And I'll try to, I can't off the top of my head think of the resource. There is a legal resource for that. I'll try to put the link below and remember what it's called. You also can just Google homeschool in and then your state, and I'm pretty sure that one of the first 3 things that'll pop up will be a great resource for you. God love the internet. All right, so far we have said that some options outside of public education, traditional government-led public ed, are private schools, micro schools, I did those different order, micro schools, private schools, unschooling, homeschooling, and last but not least, another option, you have to be careful with it because they still have to obey government regulations, but there are some public charter schools that are a great option if you still need your kids to go to a free 5-day-a-week school. Like if you're still, stuck in a 9-to-5 job and your kids really need to go to school, check out some of the public charter schools. They are better than just going to a traditional public school. And there are options. You can look and see, like if your kid's really into robotics, there are some charter schools that are focused on more STEM topics. If your kid is on the other end of, the genius spectrum, or actually that's not true. If your kid just is really into arts, then there are some charter schools that are more arts focused. There are even some charter schools that are more focused on open student-led, like project-based schooling, and so those are options as well. So those are 5 alternatives. There's others that I'm sure I haven't covered. A lot of them fall into one of these buckets. If you have suggestions, I would love for you to share them in the comments, like help everyone out, help each other out. If you want to know what resources are available in your area and you've Googled it and you just can't find anything, put that in the comments too. I'll see if I can help you out. And if this has been helpful at all, or if you have any questions, comments, leave them below, and I would love to get back to you either through another video if there's a common question that a lot of people have, or just individually replying in the comments. And if there's somebody that is thinking of taking their kid out of public school or wondering if they can, could you please share this video with them? I want, my mission in life is for each child to be able to be fully supported in becoming exactly who they were created to be. As I believe that each and every one of us was beautifully and wonderfully made, and that unfortunately the systems of our world sometimes inhibit that or get in the way of that. And the more kids that we can nurture into being exactly who they were meant to be, instead of confining them into this cookie cutter mold of who they're expected to be and put this pressure on them that they, have to make this grade in math in order to be labeled a smart kid or a successful kid, it's just bogus. I don't think it's helping society. I think if you look at statistics and see the rate of, childhood depression, suicides, all of those that are going up, young students, young adults who are having self-esteem issues. I think a lot of it is coming on because we are not allowing kids to be kids when it's time for them to be kids, and we're pressuring them into being someone or something that they're not later as they mature as well. And so if you know a parent or you are a parent who is trying to find a different way to raise their children, because you believe this to be true as well, you see the signs, you are willing and able to redesign your life so that your kid has a better chance, then I'm here to help you however I can. And if you know somebody who's in that same situation, if you'll share this with them, I would love to help them as well. And if there's, like I said before, any questions, comments, put them below. I'll get back to you. My goal is to help as many parents and therefore as many children as I can just be who they were naturally meant to be and be out in nature more. So go outside, get some fresh air, get some sunshine, stare up through the leaves of trees, and enjoy life. Enjoy connecting with nature, with each other, with yourself. And until next time, just be.